Hello, and welcome to the Summer Camp Open House for HBCUish by NeuroNurture. I am Jennifer Henry, the founder and creator of the NeuroNurture curriculum, HBCUish by NeuroNurture, and everything that we're about to show you today. I'm super excited, and I'm going to let Miss D introduce herself. This amazing woman is a gift. Miss D.
Good evening, everyone. I am Deanna, Mrs. D. All of the biddies and buddies call me, and it is a joy to be here with you to show you about our programs and give you a little peek into what a summer camp experience would be like at HBCUish by NeuroNurture.
We're so excited. We've really thought long and hard about all the things we're going to present to you today because it matters very much what we bring before your families because your families matter to us as much as our families matter. So, without further ado, let's hop right into our presentation. I'm going to share the screen. All right. So, again, we'd like to welcome you to the HBCUish by NeuroNurture Summer Camp Open House. So, what is HBCUish by NeuroNurture exactly? Well, it all started with a vision. What if the confidence, connection, and culture of HBCUs was introduced earlier in life? What would that look like? So, welcome to HBCUish by NeuroNurture, a safe space where our passion is creating programs and products based on internationally proven best practices that loudly celebrate our families. Much like the HBCU experience, enrollment in our programs unites your family with an interactive virtual village of other families like yours. And you can find resources, make connections, and share in our monthly wind down parent gatherings. So, HBCUish by NeuroNurture started with the NeuroNurture curriculum. And this curriculum was informed by my research and my readings and my interests in how children develop their cultural esteem. And not only that, how the cultural esteem of a child can impact their long term academic success. And so, as I was doing reading, just preparing for creating this curriculum, educating my own child, and eventually the children of others, I just kept reading and reading about how early racial biases introduce themselves into a child's life. Now, we know that these things come from the environment, they come from parents, they come from things that are not said, but they still can show up in a very early classroom. So let's take a look at this study. And it's actually from a review of research that was published in the Washington Post on June 25th in 2020. The title of this piece was called What White Parents Get Wrong About Raising Anti-Racist Kids and How to Get It Right. So, in the article, they reminded everyone that kids are essentialist thinkers. And that means that they assume that if people are the same on the outside, that they must be the same on the inside. So, with this type of mindset, children can often feel that even if you just change the colors of shirts, they'll think that everybody who's wearing the same color shirt that they are wearing has the same characteristics that they value. So maybe friendly or smart or pretty, just based on shirt category alone. Now, I was wondering, and I think, and obviously, so were the researchers in this piece. They've been wondering just how early do racial attitudes and racial biases show up in life. So, in a 2005 study, psychologist David J. Kelly and his colleagues found that 3-month-old babies can distinguish faces on the basis of race and show preferences towards faces of their own race. And by the time these kids are then toddlers, they start to behave in prejudiced ways as well. So, in a landmark study by another psychologist, Phyllis Katz, the founder of the Institute for Research on Social Problems in Colorado, she regularly observed 200 children in a longitudinal study. Half of the children were Black and half of the children were white. And she observed them in this longitudinal study from the age of 6 months until they were 6 years old. And what she saw is that when 3-year-olds were shown photos of children of different race faces and asked to choose who they would like to be friends with, 1/3 of the Black children chose only photos of other Black children, meaning 2/3 of Black children did not want to play with other Black children, did not want to be friends with other Black children. And then 86% of white children chose photos of other white kids, meaning only 14%, or 1 out of 10 children that were white, chose to play with other race children. Now, it made me wonder, it makes researchers wonder, how do you go from distinguishing races by the age of 3 months to then deciding and placing value on friendship and relationships by the age of 3? Well, we have children that are in somewhere within this range. All of us that are here watching this video have children somewhere between the 0 month, 3 months, all the way up to 3 years. So this is a very critical time of developing your cultural esteem, your pride in yourself, and your confidence, as well as your value system. And here at HBCUish by NeuroNurture, we do not think or believe that our children have time to be confused about how valuable and important they are. So everything that we do here at HBCUish by NeuroNurture is pointedly directed at building and empowering the self-love and the self-importance in your child. So a little bit of a backstory on NeuroNurture. You might be saying, what is NeuroNurture? Well, NeuroNurture started with an idea back in 2012 when my son was only an infant. I had been reading about cultural biases, racial biases, and how they influence economic decisions, how they influence policy, how they influence educational environments. And I was concerned about what his life might look like given the studies and given the facts that I saw. And I decided to become a stay-at-home mom so that I could really make sure that everything that my son was experiencing was the best that I could do and was going to set him up to truly love himself for life. And in doing that, I always say you can take the scientists out of the lab, but you can't take the lab out of the scientists. And so what I started doing is making notes on every little thing that we did every single day. And by the time my son was 2 years old, I had developed the foundation of the NeuroNurture curriculum. And I started to build and grow that curriculum over the course of many years to where it is today. And it has evolved, it has improved, and I'm really proud of where we are today. So what you see here is our very first classroom. Right here in this first picture, this used to be my dining room. And I convinced my husband to turn half of our 1,200 square foot condo in New Jersey into a real preschool to educate our son, who was then 2.5 years old. And that was the first time that the NeuroNurture curriculum was applied in an actual school setting. And that was in 2014. So here I converted my dining room into an interactive and engaging hands-on science, music, and math space. So you can see here we had the math market with all of our fraction toys, our counting manipulatives, and everything set up for the children to explore. Here is our music station. And then here is my old living room. This was our auditorium and gathering space, as well as our library and our cultural learning area. So we had lots of books over here, lots of toys. And here you see one of the many class visitors I brought in. This was a laughter yoga instructor. So we do have a very strong social emotional curriculum in the NeuroNurture curriculum, and it was assisted in part by experiences like this laughter yoga that help the children be more mindful and aware of their feelings. Here is one of our field trips, and here is a picture from one of the first media mentions that NeuroNurture had, which was in the Howard University Alumni Magazine. The space grew too big for my home, and we were happy to get our spaces back, and it moved into its first micro school building. So NeuroNurture moved after that first year of programming in my home, we grew to a full program with mommy and me classes was that are now called Biddy and Buddy. This is our kindergarten and preschool classroom here. It was a very busy classroom. You can see all the fun that had been had. And then this was a Reggio Emilia inspired laboratory where the children could explore natural materials with really fun items. This was a light table and we emptied it out, but this was the water table. And I did mention that over the years, we've had a little bit of media coverage. So here we have that first feature in the Howard Alumni Magazine in 2016. And then we were most recently during the pandemic in the Washington Post, mentioned in a few different articles. We were interviewed by John King, my husband and I, as we prepared to transition our son to virtual learning. And we tried to imagine what that space would look like. We were talking about it on CNN. And then what's not shown here is the most recent interview on Fox 29 Philadelphia, where we actually talked about the careful complements curriculum, which is a really important part of the social emotional learning portion of the NeuroNurture curriculum. So, as I said, the NeuroNurture curriculum is something that I evolved over the course of many, many years, and it takes the best of what I found in many philosophies from around the world and some from right here in the US. So, Montessori, Reggio Emilia, and Waldorf are three really child-centered, child-led curricula that I find to be really powerful. And we take little bits of the documentation from Reggio Emilia, the hands-on play-based learning in Montessori, and the child-led, open-ended, creative inspiration from Waldorf. And then we have some influences from cooperative learning, which really come from our strong foundation in family inclusion. Families are essential here. We are family. When we join with your family, we are a family. We're a partnership, not a purchase. So cooperative schools really influence a lot of how I envisioned families being integral to the NeuroNurture school setting, be it virtual or in person. And then High Scope is all about the way that children get to decide how they're going to spend their day in an in-person classroom for a NeuroNurture program. So translating this heavily experience-based, documentation-based curriculum to a virtual program was a big pivot for us. So this requires feedback from families. We have a few different ways to do that. Emails, the Synapse Spark form, which is something that we show you in the orientation, as well as our wind downs and different surveys that we send throughout your experience in the program. It requires mindfulness and grace. Affirmations are essential. Setting intentions and deciding how you're going to interact with your children, how you're going to demonstrate respect, how you're going to um, um, how you're going to show them what we want them to emulate, how we demonstrate what we want them to emulate. All of these things come from setting intentions and being mindful and showing yourself and your child an immense amount of grace. And that takes practice. It's a big investment of time. This is definitely a program for families that are looking to spend time bonding with their children and bonding with themselves and the child inside of them as well. And then there's lots of cooperation with Mrs. D and myself and your family as we make sure that what we're providing to your family matches what is valuable to you and matches what your family needs. So we do a lot of individual consulting with families when we find that there's a need that the large group setting doesn't meet. We're here for you for that because we are a virtual village. And then that leads us right to the last bullet, the community focus. We are, above all else, a virtual village because in our community, it is very important that we lean on one another. From the beginning of time, Black people have always had a strong sense of village mindset and community-centered focuses. So that is something that continues right on into the NeuroNurture curriculum and every HBCUish by NeuroNurture program. So we're going to talk a little bit now about the NeuroNurture iLab intentional learning at play process. So our core ideas are presented through play. We follow the children on a personal and a developmental level. We support the whole family with our curriculum and programs. I know I mentioned the wind down. Let me tell you what that is. The wind downs are monthly parent gatherings where we celebrate the successes and the messes of parenting so that we can raise free Black children. So we focus a lot on talking about removing any sort of tentacles or entanglements of white supremacy in parenting. We talk about disentangling our own baggage from what could have been stressful, harmful, or just plain old things in our own upbringing that we don't want to replicate with our children, as well as celebrating all the things that we do want to replicate with our children that our parents did with us. So wind downs are intentional times for Black families and our multicultural allies to get together in a very safe setting. We bring wine. Sometimes we don't, but we bring questions, we bring resources, and we bring love and grace for one another. And it's a beautiful time for Black parents and our multicultural allies to be together and to be talking about things that impact our daily lives as Black parents and multicultural parents. Our curriculum is accessible to children and multiple learning styles. We have success with speech delays, physical differences, and all types of different issues that might come up in the normal development of children. And we have lots of success with all of those scenarios. And when we don't, we have a board of advisors who have lots of experience helping with that. And when we can't find it within our own community, we're not afraid to go out and seek resources to support however we can. And lastly, you need to know that the NeuroNurture curriculum is noisy when needed, which is pretty much every class, very hands-on and engaging. Do not ever come to a NeuroNurture class in something that is uncomfortable. We exercise every class. Many classes turn into family dance parties where we listen to anything from soca music to music from Nigeria to R&B music to dance hall from Jamaica. We take music from all around the world. Fela Kuti, it doesn't matter. Everything is a beautiful time to celebrate the excellence of our people from all around the world. So never come uncomfortable. Come in your workout clothes because you might need to gulp some water and wipe your sweat because we have a great time with our children. And the secret is your children will nap after a NeuroNurture class. All right. So I'm actually going to pass it over to Mrs. D right now because Mrs. D and I have worked so hard on this summer camp, and we're super excited to talk to all of our backpacker parents about what we have in store. Mrs. D?
Yes, thank you. Backpackers and biddies and buddies, we are so excited. I am going to share with you about our summer camp themes. We have 2 summer sessions. Our first summer session is June 7th through July 2nd, and we are going to dive in and we're going to explore all about animals. And the best thing about our summer camp experience is that we are going on a literary journey. We are going to read a new book every week, and our family dance parties, the music, the messy art, the games, and the sensory exploration, everything's going to come alive through these stories. So each week, our books are going to focus on Black authors and Black main characters. Again, we just believe in representation, and we want the children to see themselves represented in the stories that we're going to read. And then we're going to read some stories about animals and insects and their habitats. And we are just so excited. For our backpackers for session 2, July 2nd through August 6th, we're going to celebrate all about me, or all about your biddy and your family. And again, we're going to do everything from creating family trees to talking about our family routines and demonstrating them through art, demonstrating them through music. Everything that we do for the backpackers is to allow them to explore their senses, to stimulate those senses through touch, through sight, through hearing. And then everything at the center of what we do is to create an opportunity for you to bond with your baby, to connect with them. So lots of physical touch, lots of eye contact, lots of singing and moving. Like Jennifer said, we are loud, and we just love to create an experience for our children virtually.
Yes, indeed. So let's flip to the next slide. So a little bit, just the nuts and bolts, okay? So the backpackers, again, like Mrs. D said, session one is June 7th through July 2nd. Then we take a little break because Mrs. D and I have to do some things to prepare for the year and for other programs that we are rolling out. And we come back July 12th through August 6th. The backpackers class meets Mondays and Wednesdays from 11:30 a.m. to 12:15 p.m. That's Eastern Standard Time. And the tuition and fees for that program are as follows. For the live session, which to clarify, the live session is when you're meeting with Mrs. D on a Zoom and she's interacting real time with you and your biddy. So that is a very interactive, very hands-on, very engaging time with Mrs. D. And then everyone in the live sessions also get access to all the on-demand videos. So you can go back and redo your favorite songs with Mrs. D over recorded video, your favorite books. You can watch your favorite classes as many times as you want this summer. And you have a week to watch those videos after every single class. And then for $70 per session, you can enroll in just the on-demand class where you get access to all the videos. You still have the same resources. You still have access to our parent wind downs every month. That is something that you have access to for the rest of your parenting journey, even if you're no longer in the NeuroNurture Biddy and Buddy programs, you can still get access to our wind downs through a simple email. You can come on in and continue to grow in that virtual village. But that program on demand only is $70, and that's for families who are not available during the Mondays and Wednesdays from 11:30 a.m. to 12:15 p.m. And that's Eastern Standard Time. So if you're not available, but you still want the beauty and the enrichment of the NeuroNurture Biddy and Buddy program, then the on-demand program is for you. We also have Navigators program, and that's for 12 to 20 month olds, and the Explorer program, which is for 20 to 30 month olds. And then the Innovator program, which used to be our preschool program, is now renamed to Innovators, and that's 2.5 to 4 year olds. And each of those meets at the times on the screen here, and they have different tuitions based on the length of the class and the amount of programming offered to your family. Now, before we leave you and jump into our demo, I just want you all to know a little bit more about Mrs. D because Mrs. D is a fantastic resource. She's a fantastic educator and she's a fantastic person in general, but she's also a mom and a wife. So she's a mom of two biddies, Anais, who's 2.5, and Elias, who's 16 months old. She lives in Philadelphia and her experience is varied, broad, and brilliant. She's a certified NeuroNurture guide. She's a preschool teacher for ages 2 and 3. She's been a preschool director at not one, but two different locations. She's a curriculum writer for early childhood programs, and she is a grant writer. Her educational background includes a Bachelor of Arts in Elementary Education, a Master's of Arts in Leadership for Sustainable Communities, and she is a certified postpartum doula, which is an essential skill for everyone in the Backpackers program. She is able to support you with breastfeeding questions, with sleep questions, with introduction of solids, with diaper questions, with all types of questions. We have talked about everything in the wind downs and in class. And what I also should mention, a huge component of the backpackers classes are that you get to talk with Mrs. D and ask questions real time before class and after class. At the very beginning, there's a share time. At the very end, there's a share time as well, because it's important that we're not only supporting the development of your children, but any sort of questions or concerns or ideas or celebrations that you want to share with your growing virtual village in the NeuroNurture community. So I'm going to pass this off to Mrs. D. Mrs. D, do we still need the slideshow for our demonstration? So I'm going to pass this off to Mrs. D. I'm going to stop our screen share. And we're going to have some fun so that you can get a sample of what's in store for the Backpackers program with Mrs. D in the HBCUish by NeuroNurture Summer Camp this year. All right, I'm going to grab my materials. All right.
All righty, are we ready to learn and play? I am going to lay out my materials here. We begin every class with our learning materials. What are we going to use today to learn and play? So for our first set of materials, a bowl full of warm water. And our ice started to melt, but a bowl full of ice water, 2 face cloths, and a bitty blanket, a small, whether it's a receiving blanket or a blanket from your home. All right, let's get started. Join Miss D in the circle. Join me in the circle, the circle, the circle. Join me in the circle to learn and play. I suggest if you have your little bitty, you can rock them as we sing, or you can hold them on your, sit them on your lap, depending on their age, and sway with them. Join me in the circle, the circle, the circle. Join me in the circle to learn and play. And we are gonna start every class with a story that sets the tone again for our theme. We're gonna read, as we read our story, lots of content, lots of new words and experiences will come through our extension activities. I know a lot. Isn't she just so cute on the cover with her braids? I know a lot. I know rocks are heavy and flowers are light. I know bright means day and dark means night. The sun is out during the day and the moon at night. I know balls can bounce and kites can fly. I know water is wet and glue will dry. I know snow is cold and stoves are hot. If you ask me things, I know a lot. Can you guess what our theme is based off of this story? That's right, we're talking all about opposites. So all of our activities for the rest of this segment is going to be about opposites. So, and I just encourage you, reading stories with your little one is such a great opportunity, not only to bond and connect with your little one, but to introduce words, to talk about, to learn how to turn the pages, as well as to point out facial features. There's so much that can come through by just reading a story. And for our backpackers, our stories are very short. Lots of pictures, lots of colors, and maybe one word, one or a couple words, or a full sentence. All right, for our first activity, we are gonna sing head, shoulders, knees, and toes, because as our backpackers, we are learning all about our bodies. So my suggestion would be you can either lay Biddy down on the blanket and you can point to and name their body parts, or you can sit Biddy on your lap and point to and name body parts, whichever is most comfortable for you. And during our classes, I always give us different variations to perform any of the exercises we are doing. Let's start on 1, 2, 3. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. eyes and ears, mouth and nose, head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. You did it. You pointed to baby's body parts. And now we're going to do the same thing, but we're just going to move Biddy in different ways, learning about our opposites. Miss D's going to grab her itty bitty for demonstration. Ready? We're going to hold baby and we're going to do up and down. Are you ready? On 3. 1, 2, 3. Hold Biddy up and down, up and down. Hold Biddy up and down, up and down. Hold Biddy up, hold Biddy down. Hold Biddy up, up and down. That's it. You did it. And now we are gonna hold baby. We're gonna lay down baby. And we're gonna take our blanket and we're gonna do over and under. Okay, we're gonna do over and under, creating a sensory experience for Biddy. And I just want to encourage you, use eye contact, look Biddy in the face, smile, be playful. Our little Biddies love it. Ready? And we're just gonna go under and over. That's it. Up. You're holding the blanket over, Biddy, and down. That's right. Biddy's going under the blanket. I see you. And over the blanket. And this is a great opportunity. If your backpacker is 6 months to 11 months, you can sit them up on their own, and we can do the same thing. Ready? We're going under the blanket and over the blanket. That's it. One more time. Everyone's under the blanket. Where did mommy go? Where is daddy? And over the blanket. I see you. That's it. We're creating an experience for Biddy, our playfulness, our eye contact, all of the physical touch that we have done is boosting our connection with our little one. And it's also brain boosting. Your little ones are learning. They're watching your mouth as you sing, as you talk, as we sing our songs. They're learning about rhythm. As we read stories and we point to and name the objects, they are learning. And our last sensory experience for our little ones, we are going to fold our blankets and put them to the side. I want you to take out your warm water and your ice cold water. You're going to choose one washcloth. You're going to dip it in that warm water. And we are going to let Biddy experience hot or warm. And you're just going to touch Biddy's forehead. Let them touch their hand. Let them feel the washcloth in their hand. And you're going to say, that's warm. Do you feel that? Warm. You can touch their cheeks and their nose and their chin. And while you're doing this, you're narrating for your little one. I am going to touch your nose. That's your nose. I'm going to touch your forehead and your cheeks. And the last thing that I want to encourage you throughout this class is that we like to balance our play with our biddies. We balance between asking questions, narrating and talking, and laughing and playing. And we balance that with observation. So I'm going to give you a second. I want you to fold up that washcloth, put it in your biddy's hand, and let's see what they do with it. We're not going to interject by speaking. We're just going to simply watch them for 30 seconds. Your biddy may just hold it in their hand. They may wave it around. They may try to touch body parts. They're learning, they're exploring. And we want to begin by balancing our play with exploration and talking with our little one and balancing with silence and observation. All righty, take that other washcloth, dip it in the cold water. Let's see how Biddy's going to react. We're going to start with their hands so we don't startle them by the coldness. Okay, so you're going to touch Biddy's hand. Oh, that's cold. Can you say cold? And we're just letting Biddy feel that in their hands. That's right. You can touch their neck, their other body parts. If Biddy's feet are out, touch their feet. Are they kicking? Are they kicking their feet because it's so cold? Cold. That's it. The washcloth is cold. The water is cold. All right. And you're going to fold that washcloth. We're going to let Biddy hold it in their hand, and we're watching them so they don't throw it over their face. We're just watching them. Wave it around, squeeze it. Are they touching their bodies with it? What's Biddy trying to do? Are they pulling it, tugging it? That's it. They are learning. They are exploring. So I'm just going to review all that we have done in class. We started with a call to circle time or a call to play time, and all of our classes start with a song. We read a story to introduce our concepts of opposites today. And then we did some music and movement, some physical development by moving Biddy during playing head, shoulders, knees, and toes, bouncing them up and down and swaying with our biddies. And then lastly, we created a sensory experience for them where they can explore textures and opposites, warm and cold. All right, it's time to say goodbye. Can you show Miss D your waving hand? Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. I'm glad you came to play. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. I'm glad you came to play. Until next time. Bye-bye.